The footage shows stone and glass slabs stored vertically in racks inside a narrow warehouse. While workers are carrying out routine tasks between the materials, a single slab slightly tilts forward, and the balance is disturbed. This small movement quickly turns into a chain reaction of falling slabs. This clearly demonstrates a fundamental rule of safe work. Heavy materials stored vertically must always be supported, secured, or chalked. Their stability should never be trusted. Safe stacking in warehouses is a critical necessity. The footage shows a driver stopping a truck directly behind another vehicle. As the driver hurriedly prepares to get out, he opens the door without securing the vehicle. Because the parking brake is not applied, the truck soon starts to move forward and makes contact with the vehicle in front. A simple stop quickly turns into a risky situation. This incident reminds us of a basic safety rule. Before exiting a vehicle, it must always be properly secured. The parking brake must be applied, and wheel chocks should be used if necessary. These checks are especially critical in confined spaces. The footage shows a shop owner sitting on a chair inside a small roadside shop, focused on his phone. Outside, a motorized load-carrying vehicle parked nearby begins to roll backward on its own. The vehicle moves uncontrollably toward the shop, and the person inside fails to notice the danger. This situation clearly demonstrates a fundamental safety rule. Unattended vehicles pose a serious risk. Vehicles parked on sloped surfaces must always be properly secured, controls shut down, and brakes engaged. The footage shows maintenance being performed on a large, multi-piece truck wheel in a commercial service garage. During a routine operation, the high pressure inside the rim becomes uncontrollable, resulting in a sudden release of energy that affects the surrounding area. The incident clearly shows how powerful pressurized systems can be. This incident highlights a fundamental safety rule. Large and multi-piece wheels must never be inflated without a protective cage or restraining device. Only trained personnel should work with high-pressure systems, and it must always be verified beforehand that the tire is completely deflated. The footage shows a fully loaded three-wheeled truck reversing. During the maneuver, steering control is applied incorrectly. The vehicle loses its balance and moves down over the edge of the ramp. This incident highlights a fundamental safety rule. Maneuvers with loaded vehicles must be performed at low speed and with full control. Direction, slope, and load weight must always be considered during reversing. Safe driving depends on anticipating how the load will behave. The footage shows an excavator operating near a wall at a construction site. A nearby person, believing they are at a safe distance, steps into the narrow space between the excavator body and the wall. When the machine rotates, this gap closes rapidly, and a dangerous situation develops within seconds. This situation clearly reminds us of a fundamental safety rule. No one should ever enter the swing radius of an excavator. The operator's visibility is limited, and the upper structure can rotate without warning. Safe zones must be defined with barriers, and a spotter should be used when necessary. The footage shows a forklift being operated at high speed, with sudden maneuvers in a busy industrial area. In the same area, a pedestrian is moving on foot. When the forklift makes a sharp turn, a serious risk is created for the pedestrian. This incident highlights a fundamental safety rule. Pedestrian areas are inviolable. Forklifts must be operated at very low speed in areas with pedestrian traffic, and pedestrians must always be given the right of way. Safe work is about control, not speed. The footage shows a mechanic inflating a truck tire while standing very close to it. As the tire inflates, internal pressure builds up, and an uncontrolled release of energy occurs within a short time. What appears to be a routine task unexpectedly becomes dangerous. This situation reminds us of a fundamental safety rule. Truck tires must always be inflated inside a safety cage and from a safe distance. Pressure is invisible, but its effects can be extreme. Proper equipment and correct positioning prevent these risks. The footage shows a large excavator working on a steep and unstable slope. The machine attempts to move while positioned very close to the edge. When the ground loses stability, the excavator becomes unstable. This incident highlights a fundamental safety rule. Before operating heavy machinery on sloped or weak ground stability must always be assessed. Work must not proceed without ensuring a safe distance and proper positioning. The footage shows a worker moving on an elevated platform without adequately checking the area where they are about to step. The surface covering is not properly secured, and the worker loses balance and moves downward from platform level. This situation clearly demonstrates a fundamental safety rule. When working at height, situational awareness and fall protection systems are mandatory. The 100% tie-off rule must be applied, and proper anchorage points and personal protective systems must be used. Safe work begins with securing yourself. The footage shows a worker starting to clean a machine. However, the machine's energy source is still active, and the system has not been shut down. Because lockout-tagout has not been applied, the machine continues operating during cleaning. What begins as a routine maintenance task quickly turns into a serious hazard. This incident clearly reminds us of a fundamental safety rule. Before coming into contact with a machine, all energy sources must be completely shut off, and the lockout-tagout, low-tow system must be applied. Cleaning, maintenance, or adjustment tasks should only be performed after the machine has been made safe. A small oversight can lead to extremely dangerous consequences. Safe work begins with controlling energy.